Was there like a moment while you were driving where you're like, I will be the next cross on the road? Or were you just like, no, it's fine. It's fine.
No. There were several. There were several of those moments. I mean, it's real fear. I've been in the army and all that, and of course I was born in Israel, so you can imagine the kind of stuff. But nothing prepares you for something like that.
Hey, I'm Ben, Heflmyer 133. Welcome to a big chat with Eliran Ben Ishai, musician, author, and creative. Eliran and I talk about a variety of things, from near-death experiences to what it's like making music for Blitwise games. I hope you enjoy, and I apologize for my audio. Well, how you doing, Eliran?
Yeah, pretty good. By the way, you can call me Elli. My
Elli?
name is friendlier to the native Hebrew-speaking among us. Everyone calls me Elli here.
Elli. And I can't help but say right off the bat, we have a shared name. My first name is Ben. Your middle name is Ben. Is that correct?
Almost. That's part of my last name.
Okay, so the first part is Ben.
No, Ben Ishai is actually my last name. It's two words. Ben in Hebrew means son. Right.
Son of the
My
right
son
hand is
of.
Benjamin, correct?
Interesting.
I
Yeah.
think that's my full first name is Benjamin, so I
Yes,
believe
that's
it
true.
means son of the right hand. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
What does Eliran mean?
Well, literally, it translates to the joy of God.
Ah, are you filled with joy?
Neither God nor joy.
None to be found here. All right,
Yeah.
I do want to start us off and ask, just because this is what led me to find you in the first place, about your work with Blitwise and all of the games they've produced, I think. I've not
Pretty
played their
much.
most recent one, but I know that you've done Super DX Ball, right? You did Pocket Tanks, which is for me the most infamous, and you Neon Wars. Did you also do that one?
Correct.
They have another newer puzzle game, like
Yeah,
puzzles.
Puzzle Catcher.
Did you work on that one?
I have. Yeah, I actually have that music on SoundCloud as well.
What was your experience like working with that?
Well, I started composing for it when it was a very rough draft of a game. It wasn't finished, of course, but it was really cool. I mean, it was a very Blitwise kind of game.
They've got a very specific style.
Mirror Wars. Yeah, yeah. Because they use a very certain. I mean, they use a proprietary game engine, which he built himself. Mike Welch, super cool guy, and that's the only game engine they use. So that's why all their games have the same feel to them.
I say I don't know if you know what YMCA is.
I do.
Yeah. When I was growing up, they had a little computer lab at our local YMCA, and Pocket Tanks was installed on all of those. You couldn't access the internet or anything like that, but you could play some Pocket Tanks. And so it was like all the little kids there jamming on Pocket Tanks, trying to master the strategies.
Yeah, I know. It's so funny because I did. I got a few links to people on YouTube posting the music and some gameplay, of course, and all that. And just by going through the comments, I started getting the feeling that Pocket Tank somehow infiltrated the education system or something.
Yeah,
it was installed on all the computers and all the schools, and everyone knows it a little bit from their childhood, from 20 years ago. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So you kind of became almost like got a cult following of these kids who gained access to Pocket Tank.
Yeah.
Do you find that the fan base from that cult following kind of follows you now wherever you go? People are like, "Oh man, I remember when."
Well, almost. And funny stories. It's almost never American guys.
Huh.
Almost never. It's mostly Indian dudes.
Interesting.
A few Chinese guys. Apparently, the game made its rounds in Asia.
Who
And
who knew?
exactly. Back when Facebook was a thing, before it was like the hellscape that it is now. I used to get a lot of my friend requests were from completely random Indian people,
Hmm.
um, who would start by, like, praising the Pocket Tanks music, which was amazing. Of course, it's great. But like you said, who knew?
Well, I'm curious. Do you have a pretty decent relationship with Michael Welch?
I wish I did, honestly. We were a little closer around Pocket Tanks, DX Ball, and Neon Wars
Hmm.
days, which was 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but the world had changed, and we changed along with it. If
Hmm.
excuse the cliche, he was having more and more problems maintaining the company because the business model didn't really fit how things were working. Um, and as far as I know, I think he's still in business. I'm not sure. But last time we spoke was around the Puzzle Catcher game. And that was, I think, 5, 6 years ago.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and that was the last time. I do know that one of his kids, his oldest daughter, I think, is getting into music. So I made some recommendations and tried to help a little bit, but that's really as close as I ever gotten to him.
You think your tracks inspired her?
He actually said that they did, and she particularly liked the stuff I made for Puzzle Catcher, which
Ah.
was amazing. I'm humbled, but yeah, she was influenced apparently.
How do you feel about your works for the games?
It's a mixed bag. I was very young when I did that. Very young, very inexperienced, unpolished, kind of, like a very young fruit still on the tree. I forgot, I skipped, the word escaped me for it.
Unripened.
Exactly. In Hebrew, there's a very specific word for it,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
yeah. So that's who I was at the time when I made that music, and it reflected also the personality I had back then. Just a much darker and gloomy individual, other than the happy-go-lucky I am today.
Huh. Do you
Um,
do you have like any particular tracks that you remember making and just being like, this isn't it, and submitting it, and they're like, no, this works, this works.
Most of DX Ball would answer that definition.
Really?
Yes.
See, I also jammed on a lot of DX Ball. That was one that was very church friendly. So growing up, I'd
Wow.
install that at the church computers, and
Very
uh,
cool.
you gotta have an easy game like that that's acceptable by the church going folks.
Yeah. It's God friendly.
Well, I'm curious. Well, before I move on to kind of my next prompt, do you have any inspirations when you were writing the songs for those, or did you just off the cuff? I'm hitting that doll rough, and I'm just doing it how I feel, kind of a thing.
It's a mix. It's a mix of things. It's both the inspiration. If inspiration hits, then it's like a juggernaut, and nothing stops you. You just sit at the computer and start working.
Hmm.
But sometimes there is I don't know, a commission or request or something like that with a specific timeline, specific deadline, and you just need to squeeze it out somewhere, and you squeeze, and then the X ball comes out.
I highly recommend everybody go play DX Super DX Ball. It's a jam. All right.
Please.
Now I'm curious though, like prior to that, and just in general beyond that, what your journey with music has been. Where did you start? Where do you find yourself now?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I mean, it's a kind of a given question since we're speaking to a musician. But in my case, it's kind of interesting because music has always been a part of my life in a way. not through like my family or anything. My family has nothing to do with music,
Hmm.
but I was always drawn to it on some level. The creative part of music. But it had never been a substantial, or at least a viable professional part of my life. It was always like within a hobby, or just like a pastime activity.
Hmm.
Um, and that's how it started as well. It started by me sitting at a friend's house, and he downloaded this radical new graphical presentation thing. It was a demo. If any of you guys know what that is, it's something from the Stone Age. It was like a few graphical effects going on a DOS-based computer, very old. We're talking like mid '90s, early '90s.
Look at what this computer can do. Like,
It would blow your mind, because games at the time did not exhibit those
hmm.
abilities. They were so, pedestrian by comparison, because it was really cutting edge stuff. They really squeezed the hardware to its limits. And I was mesmerized. And I remember the music being so captivating
Hmm.
that, with the limited resources of the time, and we're talking 93, uh, 1993. Um, uh, Trying to, there was no Google, no internet. It was just asking around and trying, and there were like BBSs at the time, which was a whole thing. I won't get into that. And try to find how that music was made from the scraps of information you get from the production itself, like from the files you downloaded, and try to find the programs. And there were no like tutorials or anything. You had to kind of like, figure it out yourself as you were going. And that's how it started, with blood, sweat, and tears. I started working with this tracker program, which was, of course, completely unorthodox. It's not like MIDI based or anything. You just punch in commands into a console like interface
Did watch
and
it
just hope for the
scroll.
yeah, and you just hope for the best. You just hope you did something decent, which I didn't, of
Hmm.
course.
Hmm.
Because I never, like I said, I never studied music. I
Never
never
touched it
like,
before. How are you gonna make Family Tracker work well when you've never touched it before? Like,
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I had no like theoretical music knowledge or anything. I still can't read notes. It's all from by ear. Um, and all the orchestration, how you do like several instruments working together and rhythm, and what the fuck is that? And then so that's how it started. And from there was a very slow and gradual process.
so it does seem kind of like if you were to compare yourself musically to, I'd say, the majority of musicians, you came from it from this like raw trying to grasp the tech.
Hmm.
Everybody else is like, I'll pick up the guitar, or I'll learn how to strike. You're like, how do I decode the song and then
Yeah,
re-encode it in a way that sounds
yeah.
good?
Yeah, it's very accurate. I really went from kind of like a hacker attitude to it.
Huh.
Instead of like a musician who's in a band playing an instrument, and I do play instruments as a hobby, and I was in a band in high school, but it never taught me anything about actual music. Uh, because again, everything was by ear, and you just go along with the thing. But to actually construct a song, to have a structure, and the orchestration and all that, I was a blank slate. And yeah, I think with that gradual process, I only gained kind of like musical maturity, you could call it, in the last 10 years.
Hmm.
And I'm very old now.
Extremely old. Yeah.
I'm extremely old.
No, so do you find like that hacker like mentality? Does that follow you now when you make music? Do you still feel like you're, because music interfaces have changed so much in the time since you've started. They've tried to make it a organic experience, I guess, is really what they've tried to do.
You're
So,
absolutely right. And I'm happy to say that I've shed every bit of hacker in me since then.
so if we were to give you some old, DOS files with some. You wouldn't be able to pick it apart for us anymore. You would.
No, no, no. I would be as clueless as I was when I was 16 when I started, minus the patience I had as a 16-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be much worse off, basically.
Do you play like any actual physical instruments, or is it all digital?
Well, now I actually, well, that's a good one. During the tracker days, no instruments at all. It
Hmm.
was just punching in the codes. Um, but in the last decade or so, I also became much more financially stable. Part of coming of age. So I did buy some instruments. I started even collecting synths and had a couple of guitars. I play both. And I've become very dependent on them.
Hmm.
Um, like you mentioned, the organic experience of making music these days makes it much more inviting um, to use any kind of instrument, even very rudimentally. Is that a word?
Yeah, rudimentary. Oh no, I'm not saying it.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah, easy
That
for you
word.
to say.
Well,
So,
that word we can't say. That's the one I mean. In a very rudimentary way, you
there
can
you go.
use any kind of instrument uh, and make something with it.
Hmm.
And that's how I use it now.
Uh, I am curious. So like I have some experience with music, right? I
Mm.
did trumpet in school, guitar at home. I've got
Yeah,
a variety of physical instruments.
nice.
Synths perplex me. Physical synths and the do they make more sense to you? That I would assume so because you've come at it from such a technical, background that a
Yeah.
lot of that would make more sense to you. But I had a guy like at Guitar Center start walking me through one of his like 70 synths and how he's modulating it, and I was like, this is awesome. I feel so dumb.
Well, we share that, you and I. I mean, they don't frighten me as much as they used to.
Hmm.
But I can't master them. Uh, when I said I used to collect a few back then, since then I sold them all
Hmm.
because other than
Hmm.
playing with the presets and at least navigating my way in a very basic way around the instrument, I didn't do much more than that. Coming to it from that technical background, is not transferable
Hmm. Hmm.
because the way you write music on a tracker is very tracker based. I mean, you write the commands that are specific to the tracker in a way that the tracker requires you to, and it's not like industry standard or anything.
No.
It's a
Yeah.
couple of Finnish hackers that cobbled that up together, and now you're using it. But yeah, I can't imagine myself making music any other way now. I
Hmm.
need a keyboard.
Hmm.
The ideas just express themselves through me now that way.
As opposed to slowly plotting them out and going back and replotting them, you can kind of just
Exactly.
let it flow through you.
Yeah, exactly. And I may even say to you in the most comforting tone I can, this may be in your cards. If you just stick at it long enough, you might get there too, where just you feel natural enough for the ideas to just
Hmm.
somehow manifest on the synth.
Just kind of flow from you. Well,
Yeah.
having the ideas flow and then figuring out the beyond preset, I'll have to sit down with a textbook first. Or just sit down with
Yes.
the guy from Guitar Center. He'll teach me how to do it. And
Yes. The human textbook. Yes.
do you? Okay, this actually works. You've been doing physical instruments now for, you
Mhm.
said, building into it for about a decade.
Yeah.
Keyboard, is that your favorite?
It's my main. Yeah. It's my most comfortable instrument.
Is there one that you're drawn towards that you're not technically adept in at all? That you're just like, man, I love this instrument. I can't play
Yes.
it at all.
Yes. There are two. One is a bass guitar, which I cannot wield on any level. I don't even know why. Just maybe about a psychological block or something. And the other is a cello.
Cello is a beautiful instrument.
I completely agree. I love that instrument. It's crazy expensive to own one as a hobby. We're talking in the thousands, whatever currency, it's always in the thousands,
Uh-huh.
or tens of thousands. And yeah, and it intimidates me.
I got the opportunity when I was younger to get to mess around on cello for a little bit, and
Wow.
I can play stringed instruments. I'm not good with a bow though. I'm not
Right.
proficient with the bow, and that's a whole
Right.
similar to the organic versus technical side. It's a very different strumming
Right.
versus bow playing.
Right.
I
But did
got
you have like a band at school or something?
so I mean my musical experience is kind of all over the map. I was in like concert band
Right.
for multiple years in school, and then I was in jazz band for a little while. Almost all on trumpet. I
Mm,
did 1 year where I did French horn, uh,
nice.
which I feel like made me a better brass player because French horn's much
Mhm.
more specific as an instrument than trumpet is,
Right.
just in the way it's designed. And then outside of school, I was playing guitar a lot. My first stringed instrument was a bass. Because
Hmm.
as a kid, I was like, everybody wants to be the guitar player in a band. No one
Of
wants to be
course.
the bass player. Like, I'll
Yeah.
be that guy.
That's where all the chicks go.
Yeah. The strong, silent type in the back of the
Yeah,
band
yeah.
who's
Exactly.
and I remember I remember being young and just like throwing on tracks that I liked and like playing bass along with them and like
Right.
doing the best I could with just my ear, but bass is already its registers can be really hard to discern if you don't have the ear for it. So
That's true.
I was just
Yeah.
making noise for a lot of my youth, but uh, you know,
Yeah.
picked up
Did you
guitar,
notice?
and I've kind of been collecting
Oh,
instruments. What
right.
I don't. So like, if I wanted to get a cello, I wouldn't go get the nicest cello I could get because
Of course.
I don't know how proficient I can be in cello. It's all
Mhm.
practice, right? It's all just time
Right.
spent into it. But
Yeah, for
uh,
sure.
I've recently been browsing shopgoodwill.com, and they have a whole selection of musical instruments. And so I'll just look through and find ones that are in fairly decent condition, put in bids on those. And
Yeah.
so I got a
Yeah, yeah.
Halusi right now is my most recent acquire. It's the
Wow.
Chinese gourd flute.
Mm,
I'm not very good at it, but I've been practicing and getting better, and that's the important part.
I agree completely. I'm so jealous. I'm jealous that you get to collect these things, these exotic instruments.
Well, you know what? You should see if you could get Shop Goodwill to ship to you, or if there's something in particular you need, I could try and help you out. Because like the Lucy, probably a beginner level instrument. Here, I can grab it real fast for you so you can see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Thanks.
So this is probably the most like elementary level that you could purchase. I think it's made of plastic instead of an actual. Yeah, it's kind of a
Oh,
wild case, right?
yeah.
Uh, I think there might be an actual gourd, but the actual like reed, it looks like a low quality wood.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
I'm not gonna try and play it because I'm afraid I'm gonna blast your ears off.
Right.
And if you don't have the right mouth pressure, it creates this really terrible, just like buzzing whine, like you're
Right.
strangling a goose or something like that. So, uh, but I bought it for $12 because nobody
Wow.
else was bidding on it. So,
Wow. Oh,
that's
that's amazing.
that's kind of that's kind of how I've been on this journey so far. Is the lower quality ones just to get my hands on them and test them.
Yeah. Yeah. I
But
totally get it.
I wouldn't invest in something like a cello only because I would. It's such a pretty sounding instrument. I would want the nicer one, And I'm like,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
I'm not going to be proficient at it, should I have it? Am I just going to waste that money and space? Like,
Yeah, space too. You're right. It's a pretty big instrument.
Double bass, I'd love to own that.
Oh wow, wow.
The space required, though. I mean,
Yes.
alone, set aside how much money it is, right? That's a whole other
Yeah,
mountain to climb.
yeah,
But uh,
yeah.
well, where am
It
I going
also
to put it?
probably it also weighs as much as you.
You're right. You're right.
It's like another person. It's incredible.
I'd have to have space for essentially another person in my home. It'd have to have its own room.
Yeah. And if I could afford another person in my life, then that means something about me. Yeah.
All right. I
But
want
did you
to.
ever
Oh yeah,
did
yeah.
your creative musical inclination ever take you to like creating something?
I've done a few different projects.
Really?
I did a tracker project actually. We do share that in common.
Oh my God.
I worked with Family Tracker for a while, and at the time I was really into game design,
Right.
at least the concepts behind game design. I am not a coder,
Right.
and I didn't have Unity or any program that could allow me to construct a game. So it was mostly, writing concepts in notebooks. And I wanted to make a little 8-bit game. And so I was like, well, that 8-bit game will need a soundtrack. And
Sure.
so I was able to download Family Tracker, and I made about 25, 30, like minute and a half
Mm.
repeatable, cyclable songs.
Right.
Um, and if you compare them to like what people are doing in Family Tracker now, they're rudimentary and again very very elementary level songs.
Right. Yeah.
People have pushed that program to do wild things at this point.
Right. Right.
And I've done some other things. You know, I I've written a couple of songs on acoustic that I've not really recorded. I've done an electronic album that was recorded in Reason. I had like a 30-day trial in Reason, and I was like, I've got
Right.
30 days to make something.
Talk about a deadline.
I know.
Wow.
I was like, I've got 30 days to make an album. I'll make 15 songs. That's two days per song. And I maybe
That's
made
awesome.
like two okay songs, like,
Right.
and the
Okay.
rest were just trying it out, trying
Sure.
it. I find
I hope you
most,
have them.
I still have the 8-bit one.
Okay.
Someone has that electronic album somewhere. I don't.
Someone.
It's not on Bandcamp anymore. Yeah, and I got really into rap for a while.
Okay.
You're talking to an MC right now, so
I'm humbled. Seriously. Wow.
so like any classic good white male, I decided to pick up rapping, and I think I was okay, but I
Makes total
was
sense.
uh I don't know if you're familiar with the trope that battle rappers make terrible albums. I was
Mhm.
making battle rapper level songs is
Right.
kind of where I was
Right.
at.
Yeah.
So I've produced a couple of things, and I've helped friends produce songs and stuff like that.
Right.
But most of the time, I'm just noodling. I'm just sitting down and I'm just playing stuff. I th- One of my big musical inspirations, and there's tons, but is
Yeah.
Django Reinhardt
Oh
on
yeah.
on
Sure.
guitar, and I'm always amazed by, and there's many musicians who have this ability, but the ability to kind of pick up the instrument and improvise a catchy melody that just
Hmm.
sticks with you. And like
Yeah.
it talk about like organic, there's something very organic and what feels to me like very true to the originating concepts behind music of like this
Right.
just kind of comes from you and its expression of self. So I try to embody that. So the success rate is probably debatable, but
As long as you had fun doing it, though.
that's really I hit a revelation kind of halfway through my youth of not everyone will be Yo-Yo Ma. There will
Right.
be one greatest musician because there
Right.
can only be one, and
Yeah.
everybody else can we can all work to be our best, and we should.
Hmm. Yeah,
But the joy inside of your creativity, I think, is what should sustain you,
absolutely,
not the
absolutely.
not the achieving the top. We're talking about melody. I think something that people, going back to Pocket Tanks, of course. I'm sorry. I hate to do it again to you, but
That's fine. You're not doing anything to me. That's fine. That's part of my history. I need to own up to it, right?
uh, I feel like you open up that game and you're hit with the melody of the first song, and it's catchy and it sticks with you. What do you feel like makes a good catchy melody? How do you write that?
Well, I think that as long as you take a bunch of notes that have this certain aesthetic to them, like they need to sound friendly in a way, sound good, and you repeat them enough times, it becomes catchy. That's just how humans work. But I think the trick is to really make it aesthetic, like
Hmm.
to get those notes to fit together. Um, and like I said, I don't have I don't have any musical theory knowledge in me to save my life, but so I can't really give you the technical explanation, like to give it a name. Like it's a Lydian scale. I have no idea. Um, to me, it's just about finding a certain pattern, even playing around with completely random notes until you hit something that clicks with you.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and you take that and you build on that. It could be like 5, 8 notes, whatever, and it puts you on a journey in a way that you already see it evolving. You already kind of hear it in your head, and you can think of things that you can add up to add to it, and it all kind of comes together just because of those few notes.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, it's true for pocket tanks. At least in my case, it's true for almost everything I've made, including the newer stuff. Um, but yeah, that's to me at least what makes it.
I did want to ask about your newer stuff. Somebody's a diehard DNA Groove fan. They're jamming to DNA Groove, and they're like, "Oh my God, Eliran makes other Elli's over here making other music," and they go and they put on, something new, total tone shift.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, which I think is interesting because you described earlier, you said Pocket Tanks embodied this darker, less optimistic version of the self, and your new music is I feel like melodramatic has a bad connotation to it, but I feel like it is much more thoughtful and I want to say sentimental almost,
Yes.
but does seem to kind of have a darker, a heavier weight to it. Uh,
Yes.
do you feel like
Uh,
you have a heavier weight to yourself now? How do you feel like you've changed and how that's embodied in your music?
yeah, that's a great one. I think what kind of made my DNA group years sound happier is just me not having any idea what I was doing.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because, like I said, I only matured musically in the last decade or so. Before then, it was complete chaos. My ideas weren't really uh, tr- didn't translate in a what's the word? Didn't translate in a way that really represented what kind of idea I had. And a lot of it was just kind of random.
Hmm.
Like I said, you just kind of hit keys and hope for something good to come out, and if not, you try again another day, and that's basically pocket tanks. Which sounds happy and all that, but it's really more of what kind of randomness
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
was in me at the time, and what I was able to get the tracker to do. It was written on the tracker, of course. Um but my newer stuff is, yeah, and I think that you use some really good words. Thoughtful is definitely one of them. I do think much more about what kind of message I want to convey. through my music, through my track. And I have an idea. I have a very concrete idea of not only a music but also a story, which is why the first word that came to your mind, which I agree with it, is melodramatic. My idea is to evoke emotion. I want my music to make you feel something. And it took me a while. That musical maturity I mentioned is about knowing what kind of musical elements can be put together in order to make you feel a certain thing. It could be happy, sad, angry, melancholic, and nostalgic, all of these things, and more. And now I actually have enough tools to make it happen. Back then, I had no tools. And that's mainly the difference, I think. The music you hear from me now, in a sense, was always there, even with, teenage me in the mid 90s. Um, yeah, and I think it just it waited for the right tools and my right state of mind and headspace to express itself in the way that it does now.
So some kid comes along and sends you an email and he says, "Hey, I want a commission for a song for a YouTube channel. Can you make it like that song you made 19 years ago?" Does that cause any sort of like existential crisis inside of you where you're like, how am I going to tap this random BS I was putting out, punching into Family Tracker? How am I going to capture that again?
um, in a way, in a sense, yeah, you're right. In a sense, I mean, I think part of that musical maturity is the ability to analyze what
Hmm.
makes a certain musical piece sound the way it does. Um, so I can imitate a little bit the spirit in which that music was made, um, but not to reconnect to those random ideas I had at the time. No.
Take the feeling and do it with purpose.
Yes.
Do
Yeah.
it with thought.
Yes. A tune, Wandering on the Other Side
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
is something that I had to do in that way. I had to like really, okay, we need to transport back now 20 years and kind of miraculously hope for something. And I think it worked to
I,
some extent.
I think it worked. I was thinking about that as I was preparing for this, and I was listening to your newer music, that under the name Eliran, and I was like, man, I hope I didn't give him too hard of a time with that task because I understand the feeling of you've done a project and you're distanced from that, and you're like,
Yeah.
I've changed beyond that. And then someone comes and they email me and they go, Ben, could you do a rap for us, please? And it's like, man, yeah, I guess I could.
Really want to help you, but
All right, so this is not related to music at all. Where are the best places that you have traveled in your lifetime?
wow, that's a good one. I think it falls into several categories. Traveling experience isn't like a catch-all phrase. It's something that goes with mood and a lot of other elements. I think the most one of the most relaxing places I've been to, which is something I'm big on now, my advanced age, is Tenerife.
Tenerife.
Tenerife. It's an island off of Africa. It's part of Spain.
Hmm.
Do you know it?
I'm not familiar with Tenerife. This is the first
Right.
time I'm hearing about Tenerife.
Okay. Wow. I highly recommend it. It's a very small island. It's part of the Canary Islands,
Okay. Okay.
which are a string of 3 or 4 islands just off the coast of Western Africa. So they have like temperate climate almost all year. But it belongs to Spain. It's practically a part of Spain. So they speak
Mm.
Spanish and they have this Spanish vibe going on. and Spanish food, which is incredible in general. And I think one of the most impactful things we noticed, well, my girlfriend and I, were how nice people were,
Hmm.
and not just cordially nice. You were like part of their family the minute you shook hands with them.
Hmm.
And from your face, I can tell that it's not something you're looking for immediately at a place where you travel. Sure, I get it, but I mean, it's not like in an intrusive kind of way. It's not an intrusive friendliness. They completely just accept you for whoever you are. You know, you could be this reclusive person or something, or a completely friendly and kind of like a party person, and it will all just go amazingly well with them.
How much time have you
Um,
spent there?
10 days.
10 days with
Yeah,
a whole new family.
yeah. I mean, let me put it this way. We were walking in the street on our third day or something. I'm a coffee addict,
Same.
and great, and amazing. And there was this boutique coffee shop in one of the streets outside of the room that we took, that we Airbnb'd. And they had these like special coffees from Sudan and from Ethiopia and Colombia and a bunch of really nice ones, like really nice blends. And it was amazing coffee. And I ended up being there almost every morning from the times in the times that we spent there. And around the third day, just by walking next to the shop, walking past the shop, people from inside are like, they're waving at you. They recognize you and they like you. And that's kind of cool, right? I mean, you're in a new
That is
place.
cool.
Yeah. And that they're not, it's not like that you now have to go in,
Right. It is recognition.
exactly, like the most casual, nice way.
Acknowledgement
And
that you exist, kind of thing.
you got it. But that's for the relaxed and kind of the nature is amazing. And that small island of Tenerife, you get basically every type of topography you can think of. They
Mm.
have a huge volcano at the middle of the. It's a dormant volcano. It's okay. In the middle of the island, and you get like these cloud jungles and beachfronts and cool city, Santa Cruz, the capital city there, which we didn't stay in. I'm not into huge cities. Um, yeah, the nature is amazing. The people are amazing. The food was spectacular. Um, and when you go, if you go there, get a good car because we did not. And there are a lot of very steep uphills, especially
Oh
around the smaller
no.
towns. We got a car. We didn't know that at the time. We rented a car, and it had only 3 cylinders. The car, like it's basically a tricycle.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm not very proficient with a manual gear shift,
Oh
right?
my god.
I mean, I can handle it, just not very comfortable with it because I only had my license done on that like 20 something years ago. And having to deal with that and a car that barely makes it uphill, plus the gear shift, and my girlfriend is easily frightened. You have to kind of like juggle all that emotional roller coaster while going on an actual roller coaster,
You're
which you
like,
can't.
relax in town. This is the quaintest, nicest experience. You hit the roads, and it's like final destination.
Yes, yes. That contrast, I think, made Tenerife very special for me. The place itself being so calm and relaxing and nice, and then you get on the car, and it's like a fight for your life. Um, yeah, so that's one. Second one is about adventure, I think. When you travel, you sometimes look for an adventure, and I
Yeah.
think to me it was Iceland.
Hmm.
Uh, I spent there 2 weeks. I went alone for my 40th birthday as a present to myself. And yeah, thank you. And I had a couple of near-death experiences.
That's what happens when you wander off by yourself. Yeah.
Exactly.
Do you have any good stories from them to share with us?
Well, I don't know if they're good, but I'll share one because it's brief. and very indicative of the near-death experience that I mentioned. I rented a car, and as I said, I went
Classic.
alone with very little preparation.
I'm going to Iceland. See ya.
Exactly, and my birthday is in January, so it's the height of winter in Iceland.
Okay, cool.
I went with a light jacket. And okay, so of course I based myself in Reykjavik, which is the capital, and I didn't know, obviously, as part of not being prepared at all, is that it's basically in a coast valley, half valley. It's surrounded by mountains.
Oh, so to get out of Reykjavik, you got to cross the mountains.
Exactly. And on my first or second day or something, January, there was a raging snowstorm in the mountains, and I'm just driving. It was getting dark because Iceland in wintertime has like 4 hours of daytime. It's like 3 p.m. and pitch black. And you can't see anything. And the snowstorm is just bashing the car. And I'm driving, just looking for an angel to rescue me or something.
I can't stop because I will be buried.
Practically. And the thing is, the first time I drove out of the city, you see these little crosses at the side of the road. Yeah! The road is paved with dead bodies of people just like me went to travel, probably on their birthday, I don't know.
Stupid tourists who come in the middle of January.
Yeah, and the road is paved with these dead people who just went unprepared in the winter to drive around in Iceland. And I was about to be one of them. No, I survived.
Good.
Obviously.
Was there like a moment while you were driving where you're like, I will be the next cross on the road? Or were you just like, no, it's fine. It's fine.
No. There were several. There were several of those moments. I mean, it's real fear. You know, I've been in the army and all that, and of course I was born in Israel, so you can imagine the kind of stuff, but nothing prepares you for something like that. That you're in your car driving and you're completely at the mercy of the elements. The thing is completely beyond your control.
You're alone. You're
yes.
Thousands of miles away from your family.
Yeah. The hotel I checked into was kind enough to give me their own phone that works with the network and everything, and they had a good GPS on it. My phone was basically dead at the time. So I had only that, with none of my contacts on it, just for the GPS. It was interesting, and I'll do it again.
Yeah, I would say you'd recommend it though.
Oh, absolutely.
So when I turn 40, I think I'm just gonna grab a jacket and head on out. And
yeah, make sure that you're at peace with yourself when you go. So turning 40 is a good point.
I love you, honey. I'm going to Iceland now.
Alone. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, any worst places to travel?
It's at an interesting timing now with everything that's going on in the world. I went to St. Petersburg a few years ago, and it was one of the worst cities I've been in. Yeah, I'm a huge art lover, and one of the main reasons I went was to see the Hermitage, which is like a gigantic warehouse of art.
Yeah.
And you get there, and it's spectacular. I mean, it's huge, and the building from the outside, at least, is very nice. From the inside, it's disappointing. And also, most of the artwork you see is in very poor condition. Most of it isn't restored, so a lot of the pictures are really dark. From all the grime that builds up on the varnish and everything.
Yeah.
So the experience wasn't great. The people are extremely unpleasant. I didn't have much personal contact with them, but like service providers and just people you interact with on a daily basis and stuff like that. Extremely unpleasant. I mean, the city itself is nice, but have you been to Prague?
I have not. I have unfortunately not been to Europe at all.
Right.
Yeah.
I hope it's in your cards.
I would love to. I truly would love to.
Yeah. So if you saw pictures of Prague or something, the city itself gives you this kind of 18th century, 17th century vibe, uh, like the Romantic era of Europe, basically. And St. Petersburg is almost like that, just extremely dirty
Mm.
and just not. It's just not pretty on
Just
any level.
similar to the paintings. It's years of build up.
Grime and bird shit on the buildings and everything. It's just no, just not pretty.
Hmm.
And the thing is, Prague took extra care in taking all of its electricity wires and phone wires. It's all underground. So the beauty of the buildings is just
You
it
just get
just
to
strikes
witness
you.
it. It's not.
Exactly. Yeah, it's unhindered by anything. It's you just experience those old times. You feel like you're in the 17th century. And St. Petersburg is the exact opposite. It's like you took a 17th century city and put it in India. You see like all the shit in the streets and all the wires coming in everywhere and like
It's
20 different.
just obscured by centuries of build up
Yes.
on top of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, that's the level of dirt you get. Like the feeling of the place you're in, how dirty it is, like it's in India.
Hmm.
So that's the worst place. What about you, by the way? Have you, if not to Europe, where did you travel?
Mostly within the United States.
Okay.
I've been to Canada once or twice, but it was mostly passing through, and I've not gotten to travel to Mexico at all. So I'm a United States bound guy right now. And of
Okay,
course,
that's not bad at all.
travel's been different over the past few years.
Mhm.
But because of that, we've been trying to be more proactive about traveling locally, state to state and stuff like that. Because geographically speaking, the U.S. is huge, so you can see a lot in the United States, even if you aren't traveling abroad. Uh, so let's see. We recently traveled to Arizona, and
Okay.
I really did like Arizona. We went from Colorado into Arizona, and Arizona is mostly desert.
Mhm.
Very hot these summers.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I don't want to quite say it was a near death experience, but we were hiking and it was 114
Oh, in
and
Fahrenheit, how much is that?
114 Fahrenheit. Let's see if I can convert that to Celsius real fast. 114
Like
F to
47,
45.5.
45. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So
It's cooking.
literally, yeah. You're literally cooking. So we're hiking and we're on this trail and it's supposed to come to an end point, and I feel I'm baking. I'm drinking as much water as I possibly can, and it's just my stomach's full of water. I'm baking, and I'm like, the next bench that we pass on this trail, we have to turn around, and we're walking, and there's no bench, and I'm like, we have to turn around. I don't get back. We get in the
Yeah.
car, and I'm just like laying there, like if we had passed out on the trail, who would have found us? Who would have just been vulture food?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I can
but
imagine.
but Arizona was really nice. We went to Sedona. Outside of the heat, it was
Hmm.
wonderful.
Right.
The people were extremely inviting,
Right.
and a lot of the people who lived there were originally tourists,
Hmm.
and they came to Sedona, loved it, and then stayed.
Right.
And they're all just like, a lot of them have kind of similar stories of I've had a chaotic, rough life, and then I came to Sedona, and it was a place of healing, and so
Hmm.
I stayed here, and
Right.
now I'm here, and it's a lot of like
Right.
small local shops that are all together and stuff like
That
that.
sounds great.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Uh, Worst place I've ever traveled. I mean, I'm from Indiana,
Right.
which is generally known for having lots of fields.
Hmm.
cornfields and soybean fields. And that's mostly it. There's some backcountry areas in Indiana that I wouldn't really recommend traveling to. Where it's just there's barely road, it's really rough. There's a lot of locals and they don't like seeing other people.
Right. In general.
There's just a couple of places there that I wouldn't recommend. But like I'm a huge fan of the woods, but I also like cities. There's something I'm a bit of a humanist. I like seeing what people can do. I also love seeing what nature can do without people. Right. So the juxtaposition. But like I love Chicago. Chicago's great. I've been to it multiple times. New York is insane. But again, I'm gonna go back to some of the best natural places I've been. Outside of like national parks or Yellowstone. There are some forests in southern Indiana that are absolutely beautiful. And if you go just south, but you go a state or two south to Kentucky, Tennessee, the mountains there and the woods there are absolutely gorgeous. I went hiking to the Smoky Mountains on my 22nd birthday by myself.
Nice.
So I was like, I've never been hiking by myself, and it's a transformative experience getting to be by yourself in the woods. It's
absolutely.
It changes you a little bit.
Yeah, get in touch with yourself a bit.
Yeah. So I don't know if I've got the best travel experience in comparison to you, but some neat places in the United States. I'm noticing we're almost at an hour. Do you want to try and cram in a round of pocket tanks before we go?
Yeah, let's try to do that.
Yeah.
I already installed the thing.
I say I'm installed. Here, I'll start.
I know that music.
Oh, sorry. What are you saying?
I know that music.
I wonder why it's familiar to you.
Okay. So I need to invite you.
My name should be Heflmyer 133.
No user with the name Heflmyer.
How
133.
Dare they? All right, what's your username? Let me try.
It's just my whole name, Eliran ben Ishai, one word.
No username found. Come on.
They're not great at this.
You know what? You could try entering my email instead of my username.
Okay. Permission denied for action. Find on class user. Did I mention the proprietary game engine that they're using?
So I'm curious. Do you think that there are separate servers that we are on right now, or do you think it's something with the game?
It's definitely the game. They're not a big company. They don't have multiple servers. I'm sure it's just the one server. Looking for game. Wait, I'm trying to do a random opponent. I mean, I'm assuming not a lot of people play this.
I clicked random opponent. It's just you and me.
Yeah. As I said. That's amazing.
What we don't know is that we're about to start a Pocket Tanks revival, and this is the only time we'll ever be able to random match between you and I, because this is about their servers are going to be flooded after this video.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Okay, so how do we start now?
All right, I clicked start. It's picking our random items. You see the map?
I don't see anything coming up for me. Wait, maybe I need to... Yeah, it says picking items, but I'm still at the... I'm still here. It's,
is it turn-based?
I guess.
I'm about to take my first turn. I'm just going to fire a volley and not even aim it. And we're going to see... Here, I'm going to crank the power to 70, and I'm going to fire.
Yeah, it says volley 1. Okay, my turn. It's your turn versus Heflmyer. Great.
Okay, so we're in the game.
Got it. We got it. Auto match with random opponents. Use quick pick. Oh my god. Okay. There we go.
Now, be honest. How much Pocket Tanks did you actually play?
Embarrassingly little.
I assumed that you played very little Pocket Tanks. Your time was spent developing the wonderful soundtrack that we know and love. So.
Yeah, that's my main involvement with the game. Not so much playing it, unfortunately. But let's put it this way: I told you that I did see a few videos. I did watch a few videos where the music was playing and people were commenting on it. I do understand how popular it is among that age group, that demographic. Okay, what do we get? Let's see. Superstar. What does that even do? I have no idea what's happening.
Okay, I think I remember. If I remember correctly, the superstar floats around me and shoots laser beams at me for a second. It's kind of awesome.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay, the power is the real deal here. Okay, let's do that. Do I get to see my weapon fire?
You should, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I just hit the mountain.
Okay, yeah, so I'm watching it now. Beautiful. It's alright, I fired my first one and it just went off into the abyss, so we're both doing great right now. I'll try tracer. That didn't help me at all.
Oh, you got a good idea of what's happening. Right, okay, so I now know.
There's a... because, of course, this isn't on, like, Steam, so you can't... As a modern gamer, it's hard to, connect with your friends and play Pocket Tanks.
Of course.
But there's, an imitation game that a friend of mine found. And it's just not the same without your soundtrack, to be honest. Like, and
does
I know.
It look bad?
Does it look bad?
No, does it look the same as Pocket Tanks?
It's similar, but they took kind of a neon LED approach to its aesthetic. So like your tanks are kind of see-through and. But the whole like 2D layout is the same, the angles and power. It's the same game basically.
Right.
Like.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm doing really well so far. I'm feeling.
I can see that. Okay. Let's try this. Ooh, that was a direct hit.
Oh, come on. I'm watching it. I hear you react, and then I just have to inevitably watch it come and rain down upon me. Alright, hold on.
That's extra cruel, I know.
Eh? Nope, I missed. Again.
Okay. Oh, you're getting closer, though.
I am. A little bit too much power, I think.
Yeah, a little bit. Okay, let's do a 3-shot. I have no idea about these weapons.
They've been upgrading the game over the decades, so...
Yeah.
You can still pay for this off the website as of today. I believe it's $29.99 for Pocket Tanks.
Ambitious.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. But you can get it for free on the App Store, so,
Yeah.
You give and take.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, but $30, I mean, for the full game, no. Oh, no.
Well, there's so many customizable weapons that we haven't unlocked yet,
Right.
We're not, oh my goodness. I'm really showing my skills today.
I can't wait to see what you did.
slow, sad trickle of hail.
Reach me though? Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Okay, let's see about that. Dirt ball. What does it do? It just
covers me in dirt.
Right.
Yeah. Classic dirt ball.
You're in the dirt.
Yeah, you're really locked on to me there. No, it'll be fine. It's fine. I have a groundhog.
Okay.
So it'll probably do something. Would be my assumption.
Keeping the fingers crossed for you.
Okay.
That was underwhelming. Dirt mover is the opposite to dirt ball?
Yeah, I believe the dirt mover just goes like directly in front of you. It's like I don't know, 5. I'm trying to use feet, and that's not going to work. It just goes like an inch out in front of you, and if I was to be buried in dirt, it'd just remove it from me.
Right. Okay. So you would need the dirt mover.
I would need the dirt mover. Ideally, if I had the dirt mover, I would have used it, but
yeah.
Instead, I'm going to have to do something like this to myself. I'm still buried in dirt.
Okay. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Okay, I think I dug you out a little bit. With some cost, of course.
It's a cost I'm willing to pay, I think.
Yeah.
Now, here's a question. Did you ever get to play any games with Michael himself?
Oh, never, no. Never. I actually never heard his voice.
Really?
Yeah, we've never spoken over the phone. It was only emails. And I think I saw a video with him sometime. Oh, you hit me?
10 points, baby!
Oh, yeah. That's a slippery slope. Yeah. Oh, nice. Nice.
So only email correspondence, huh?
Yes. I saw, I think, a video with him. He wasn't speaking. So I know what he looks like. But that's really it. Now, I think Napalm, now that you're in this kind of like a bowl-shaped grave that I dug for you, will have a good effect, right?
Oh yeah, I think that's the strategy. I think.
Oh yeah, you're cooking now.
As cruel as it may be, that might be the most effective thing to do.
Completely unintentional.
Gosh. 23. Okay. Okay. Come on. I was really close that time, but not quite. Not.
Oh, wow. Okay, you screwed up my
your
my
angle's all
angle
off
thing.
now. You can back up though. I think.
Can?
I think you used to be able to.
Yeah, in the desktop version, I know you could. I don't see any movement buttons.
You see what they take from us.
Yeah. There we go. Okay. Now let's try to make up for that extra. I think that should do it. Let's hope so. Not dirt mover. Oh, sniper rifle. That takes a direct shot, right?
Yeah, I think it's 100 damage.
Yeah.
If it's a direct
I need
shot.
If I have a direct line of sight to you, but I don't. So that's wasted. Yeah. Bye.
Oh yeah, you backed up. Okay. There it goes. Well, I'm feeling pretty good about my last. What in the world am I? What is happening?
What? Oh, what is that?
I
Are you
think
celebrating something?
I think I cast a spell on you.
You did?
I shot what was called Bouncy Bouncer, and now there's a pink dot in front of your tank.
Mm-hmm.
Do we think that means it bounces your shot back at you?
Well, the only shot I have left is Dirt Mover.
Well,
so let's see. It just moved some dirt.
Congratulations, cool. Ellie. You're the winner.
Thank you. I'm adding you as a friend, though.
Oh, nice. So we can play Pocket Tanks again.
Yes.
Let's see. Oh, see, they made a little list of how to play with your Blitwise friends online.
Yes.
So nice of them.
It is.
How does it feel to win your first round of Pocket Tanks in what, 20 years?
20 years, 21 years. How does it feel? It feels unremarkable.
I feel a little let down by this whole experience, to be honest. Is
that what I put my time into?
This is the legacy that I leave behind. No, I do have one last query. This is a big question, so don't feel like you really have to have the best answer to it. But if not Pocket Tanks, because, like you said, that's something that was kind of done in the innocence of youth, kind of oftentimes like deadlines and stuff like that. Maybe not the exact thing that you want to be remembered by. What is it that you want to be remembered by? What's the legacy that you want to leave behind?
Wow, I love that question. I think it might surprise you. It wouldn't be in music at all. I write, and I'm not a published writer yet, but I'm working on it. I finished a book a couple of years ago, and I tried to get an agent to represent me. None of them wanted to, because it's my first book. When you introduce yourself, hey, this is my first book, the door just automatically slams in your face. We don't even want to try to read what it is that you did. It's probably awful, and they're probably right. But I am working on that, and that's what I want to be.
Is there a way that myself or the viewers at home would be able to get our hands on some of your writing and read it?
Well, no, not yet, because I wanted to go in traditional publishing, right? So,
absolutely.
I didn't want to put anything out there yet, not to hurt any copyright claims or anything. But if and when I'll give up on traditional publishing, I will put it up somewhere, and I'll let you know.
Excellent. Well, Eliran, I really do appreciate you taking the time to have a chat with me.
Hey, thank you. It was great. Among Us.